Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment of my vlog, I guess it's called, about episode 2 of Project Runway. It is a hot and steamy day in New York, and I mean hot. I still have no air conditioning in my apartment. I haven't had air conditioning since July 5th. I'm sitting here with a lovely iced tea in my office at Liz Claiborne Inc. With my pal Leah, who's controlling the video, and I have to tell you something. Owing to the fact that I have no air conditioning, I fell asleep about 5 minutes into the episode last night. It's so hot and so steamy in my apartment. So I didn't see it. And, owing to the fact that I was planning to see it, I didn't DVR it. So I lived the experience, and I've asked Leah for some details about things. So let's just begin with the whole preview and the ambulance. I understand that the ambulance never appeared in the episode. Well, I'm nothing if not a truth teller, and I get in trouble for telling the truth all the time. I'll probably get in trouble for telling the series of truths that I have to tell you about this episode, but that's the way it is. At least when you tell the truth, you know what you know what, you don't have to worry about making things up and pretending things happened that didn't happen. So, let me just recap for a moment what the challenge is, and if you haven't seen the show, well, I haven't seen the show. I'm still doing the vlog. Stay with us if you haven't seen the show. It's the Mary Claire Challenge, and it's a billboard in Times Square. And how fabulous is that? Fabulous. And the divine, sublime Joanna Coles presents the challenge. She's the editor-in-chief of Mary Claire, and I love and adore her. And I have to say, it was the one redeeming thing about being on the rooftop of the Atlas yet again for the champagne toast. I kept saying, we can't keep doing this. This is ridiculous. Can't we do this toast somewhere else? We become a caricature of ourselves. Anyway, I'm getting shrill, which I don't want to, because there's plenty of shrillness in what I have to say about this episode. So, the designers have 1 day for this challenge. And that includes, so, we hear the challenge, we go off to mood. Leah, do we go off to mood?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, I was going to say, we still don't have that mood annex. And the designers have until midnight that night to basically finish their work, because we have to have the photo shoot the next morning. And the photo shoot becomes part of what the judges are evaluating when they're deciding who's on the top and who's on the bottom. So 16 designers are having a photo shoot the next day. Can you imagine what that did to our schedule? It was horrendous. And we had to suspend all activity in the workroom because it wouldn't be fair for the last number of designers to do their photo shoot for them to continue to work. So I'm all about fair and even playing field as much as possible. So, where to begin? I was absolutely and wholeheartedly confident that Jason would be out. Once again, he's not sewing. He is using pins and other methods of securing seams and hems and you name it. And it was one big hot mess. And I thought, this is, well, I'm going to be really blunt about it. I thought, he's a somnambulist. He is sleepwalking through this. He's not fully engaged. There is something wrong. I won't even pretend to know what it is, but there's something wrong. So I was confident that he was going home. I really thought Valerie was going to take the prize with her red dress. I thought it was stunning. I thought she did a fabulous job. And quite frankly, I was rather worried about Gretchen. I thought, it's a dark, flat jumpsuit, basically. Could you accessorize it? Sure. But I thought, I just don't think this is going to wow the judges. Little do I know, since we know what the outcome was. But now, let's talk about the ambulance. It was in the previews. In fact, my sister called me to say, is there some horrible fight and somebody gets beaten up and is taken away in an ambulance? And I said, no, there's no fight. There's no fight at all. This was a really, I mean, unless something happened behind the scenes that I know nothing about, which would really surprise me, because I would think someone would say something to me. Silly me, what am I saying? This was a season when everyone really not only got along well, but was very supportive of each other. Well, there's a challenge coming up when things kind of all hell breaks loose, but that's another matter. But there are no fights, except for me. Um, Everyone got along well, but all right, back to the truth-telling. There were 3 ambulances the night of the runway show and the Q&A and the deliberation. I was the first to be carted off. And I'll tell you why. I have a mild form of epilepsy. It's petit mal, and it acts up occasionally. And given the fatigue, no one recovered from the first challenge, that one-day, 20-hour challenge. The stress, the heat in the auditorium at Parsons where the runway show is, and everything else that was happening, just stress. And I worry about the designers. So during the Q&A, those crack-smoking judges, for which I'm going to get in trouble saying again, they were really maligning some of the designers, and it disturbed me tremendously. At any rate, we had this dark room, all of this heat, this gigantic monitor that had the photos from the photo shoot on it, and it was sitting right next to Heidi, and it was a combination of all these things. I felt myself going. I felt tingly, I felt nauseated, and I thought, I need some air. I've got to get out of here. So I made the mistake of standing up, and I went down like a tree and smashed my head into the folding chairs, and I had a gash under my chin, and I bit the inside of my mouth badly. At any rate, I passed out. And Heidi's fabulous, wonderful makeup artist, Linda Hay, was attending to me with ice and fanning me, and because when I came to, I was on the floor, and all I could see were feet. And Linda was by my side. Linda, I love you. I really do. You saved me. And the next thing I know, the EMS people are there, and I'm being carted off. Well, they're taking my blood pressure, and I'm being carted off. And when we finally get to the hospital, and I've never been in an ambulance in New York City, but I've seen plenty of them, and I've always thought, but for the grace of God, there go I, because no one moves. Traffic can't do anything. You're just, the emergency vehicle just sits stalled in traffic with a siren blaring, and that's, I don't know what happened. All I know is that we eventually got to St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital, which is a fabulous hospital, everyone. I was a little worried about that, too. I thought, oh dear, I don't know this hospital. Fabulous, wonderful people. But when I was able to stand up and go into the bathroom in the emergency room to put on my paper gown, I looked like Jackie Kennedy the day of the assassination. I was clothes, everything. I was covered in blood. My face was all bruised and gashed. The bruises had already started to appear. I was a mess. At any rate, things happen for a reason, and I'm certain that the reason was that no one wanted me anywhere near the judges when they were declaring that Nicholas, in addition to Jason, that Nicholas was going home. I was horrified. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that garment. In fact, I liked it. Furthermore, he's an incredibly talented designer. He's fully engaged, unlike Jason, and he's a sweetheart of a guy. So things happen for a reason. Had I been in that auditorium, I probably would have attacked and just asked why. No one ever mentioned this would be a double elimination. If you want to eliminate 2 people, do it when it's really appropriate. When there really are 2 horrible dog outfits on that runway. There weren't. There was one horrible dog, and we know whose dog it was. And he did go home, thankfully. So at any rate, 2 designers went down like trees that same night. One was Jason. So he was carted off via ambulance, and to be honest with you, I don't know who the other designer was. I honestly don't know. I don't even want to speculate for fear of him possibly embarrassing someone. But Jason was carted off. So I wasn't anywhere around to tell anyone to go clean up their space. So, and Jason wasn't there. It was only Nicholas in the designer lounge with the other designers. So later, as in days later, we did a pickup with Nicholas and me, where I tell Nicholas to go clean up his space, and I don't know what I say about Jason. Leah, do you remember?
He just left.
Jason just left, okay. In some emergency room somewhere. At any rate, all 3 of us who were carted off are all fine now. Well, I'm speaking for myself. I'm fine. Who knows? And I honestly don't understand why this episode would be teased up this way. And now I understand that there's a preview of next week's episode and there's another ambulance. I mean, this is not the season of the ambulance, everyone. And I will say this, though. It was decided by the producers to have an EMS person on the set all the time, which was a good idea. Not just for, well, not for me, but not just for the designers, for the crew, because our days are long and they're arduous. And the heat this summer in New York has been record-breaking, so anything could happen to anybody. So that was a good idea, but let me assure you, there are no more ambulances. I mean, there aren't for the rest of the season. Unless, as I said, something happened that I know nothing about, which is always possible, but not altogether likely. I mean, there are plenty of things I don't know about until after the fact. And I think of myself as being fairly well informed. I'm really babbling like an idiot. At any rate, I'm desperately sad and woeful about Nicholas's departure. Congratulations to Gretchen, though, Gretchen, I'm sorry, but once again I was surprised by your win. And Valerie, excellent work, really. Excellent work, and I think a lot of people will feel the way that I do, and the way that I know Leah does too, and think, gee, why didn't Valerie win? And Jason, bon chance, whatever. I hope you're more engaged now than you were then. And Nicholas, again, I'm desperately sorry that you're gone. So, another challenge awaits, and I better make certain I take some pep-up pills or, I don't know, drink a nice coffee or an iced tea before the show's on so that I don't fall asleep again. And I have no reason to believe that my air conditioning will be fixed by next week. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible issue and ridiculously expensive to boot. So the holdup is my homeowner's insurance and parts and all sorts of other things. And I hate to say that I'm getting used to it because I'm really not getting used to it. You combine the hot apartment with the subway and the hot streets, and what a summer. Maybe I'll move to the Arctic Circle. I wonder what kind of fashion they have there. Probably too much fur, I couldn't possibly go. At any rate, bye everybody.